They were laughing about something in the kitchen when I came home. I heard it through the front door, that kind of easy, natural laughter women have when they're completely comfortable with each other. No tension, no filter. Just joy. I smiled to myself as I stepped inside. The scent of roasted garlic and basil drifted through the hallway. My wife was cooking, which meant Lena was chopping something nearby, glass of wine in hand, her usual spot at the edge of our island counter. "Hey," I called out, dropping my keys in the ceramic bowl by the door. "Smells like you two made peace with the garlic again." Sienna turned her head with a grin. Only because Lena refused to let me use the pre-minced kind. Apparently that's a culinary war crime. Lena didn't even look up. He should be grateful. She almost ruined this pasta with that garbage last week. I chuckled and leaned over to kiss my wife's temple. She smelled like lemon zest and wine. Lena's glass clinked gently against the cutting board. She wore a loose gray cardigan, sleeves rolled to the elbow, her dark hair tied back in that lazy bun she'd always worn, even back in college. I knew Lena longer than I knew Sienna. The three of us had been inseparable once, the holy trinity of late-night diners and bad poetry slams and road trips without maps. Now, 20 years later, Lena was still single, still floating between cities and clients and lovers that never stayed. But she was ours. A constant. Family, in every way that didn't require paperwork. She stayed with us every few months when she passed through for work. No one questioned it. Not the kids, not the neighbors, not even me. "Glass of wine?" Sienna asked, already reaching for a third. I nodded. "Only if I get a forkful of whatever that is." "It's your favorite." Lena smiled at me, finally making eye contact. "Spaghetti alla puttanesca. Heavy on the olives, light on your judgment." I laughed. "You say that like I ever judged your cooking." "No, but you judged my choice in exes." "Fair. Most of them deserved jail time." Sienna was plating the food now, humming softly. I watched the way her hair curled down her back, wet from a recent shower. Lena moved past her to grab napkins, her hand brushing Sienna's back in passing. Light. Familiar. Nothing strange. They'd always been close. Touchy. That kind of affectionate bond that comes with years of shared secrets and unspoken memories. At dinner, the three of us talked about everything and nothing. My new department head at school. Lena's marketing campaign for some eco-friendly tech company. The latest weird dream Sienna had, something about a hotel made of paper and a talking sink. Everything felt ordinary. Comfortable. Lena stayed in the guest room, as usual. Said she had meetings downtown in the morning. Sienna curled up beside me in bed later that night, warm and quiet, her breath slow and steady. I remember thinking, before I fell asleep, how lucky I was. I had a wife I loved. A life that felt calm. A friend who had stayed when most others drifted. I had no idea that night would be the last time I ever felt safe in my own home. The week went by like any other. Mornings were a blur of cereal boxes, half-buttoned shirts, and forgotten homework. Evenings were quieter. Lena helped Sienna grade papers, and I'd catch the tail end of a basketball game before we all settled into wine and movies. Lena was staying longer this time. 2 weeks, she'd said casually, twirling her spoon in her coffee the morning after she arrived. "I've got a client with a rolling campaign. Means I'll be back and forth for a bit." "No complaints here," Sienna said, pouring oat milk into her mug. "You keep me sane while this one," she pointed at me, "plays martyr at school." I held up my hands. "Hey, I'm molding minds." Lena smirked. "You're molding 6th graders into cynics." We laughed. We always laughed. That was the thing, it all felt good. Real. No undercurrent, no tension. When I left for a conference in Baltimore the following Monday, Sienna kissed me goodbye with both arms around my neck. Bring me back something terrible and touristy, she whispered against my cheek. Shot glass with crabs on it. Perfect. Lena waved from the porch, wrapped in Sienna's robe, coffee in hand. Don't fall asleep during your keynote. I flipped her off playfully and drove away, not knowing I'd be back less than 48 hours later. The conference was fine, panels, catered lunches, too much networking and not enough sleep. But Wednesday morning, I got a text from our youngest's teacher. Maya had forgotten her inhaler again. I could have just called the school nurse, but something tugged at me. Some mix of worry and guilt. I checked out early, moved my flight up. I didn't tell Sienna, figured I'd surprise them both. The flight was smooth. A cab ride home. I remember the driver talking about the weather, something about an incoming storm. I barely listened. I was picturing Maya's face lighting up when I walked through the door. The house was quiet when I arrived. No music, no TV. That wasn't strange. Sienna worked from home on Wednesdays. Maybe she was in a meeting. I dropped my bag by the stairs and headed toward the kitchen, but paused. The air smelled like citrus and something faintly sweet, familiar. Sienna's perfume. Not just worn, fresh. Recent. I passed the living room. Empty. Dishes from breakfast still on the table. My footsteps slowed as I moved down the hall toward the bedroom. The door was almost shut. Not fully. Just resting on the latch. Soft laughter. Muffled voices. Then silence. I reached for the handle. I didn't mean to open the bedroom door. Not dramatically. Not with suspicion. Just, habit. I thought maybe she left a window open and the wind had blown it closed. I remember still carrying my suitcase. My hand had the handle imprint on my palm. The door swung open like it always did. Lightly. Without resistance. And for one breath, the room looked ordinary. Until it didn't. Sienna was on the bed. Not asleep. Not alone. Lena was with her. It took a second for my mind to process what my eyes were seeing. Because it didn't register at first, they weren't moving. It wasn't frantic. It wasn't anything I expected betrayal to look like. They were lying there, half covered in the white sheet, Sienna's back curved into Lena's chest, Lena's hand gently brushing her shoulder, almost absent-mindedly. As if they were already used to this. As if it wasn't something new. Sienna turned her head first. Her expression wasn't shocked. Or scared. Just calm. "You're home early," she said. Lena sat up slowly, but didn't speak. She pulled the sheet to her chest and looked away. I didn't speak either. I just stood in the doorway, the wheeled suitcase still behind me, angled half into the hallway. "I was going to tell you," Sienna said. "I just didn't think it would be like this." My voice came back slowly. It felt rusted. "What am I looking at, Sienna?" Her eyes flicked toward Lena, then back to me. "Something you didn't know was missing." That answer didn't make sense. Or maybe it made too much sense and my brain refused to allow it. "You said she was like your sister." She nodded. She was. For a long time. And then, she wasn't. The clock on our dresser ticked once. Then again. I could hear it. That's how quiet the room had gone. Lena spoke finally. Her voice was barely above a whisper. I didn't mean to fall for her. It just happened. I laughed. Not loudly. Just a short, empty sound from the back of my throat. "And what, you thought I wouldn't notice if you kept it quiet?" Sienna pulled the sheet around her body and stood. Not ashamed. Not shaken. "It wasn't about hiding," she said. "It was about figuring out what it really was." I felt the edge of the dresser behind me. Leaned on it. So what is it? A phase? A thing you needed to try before you turned 40? That got a reaction. Her jaw tensed. Don't do that. Don't turn this into some pathetic stereotype. You know me better than that. Clearly, I don't. Silence. Sienna crossed the room and stood in front of me. Bare feet on the hardwood floor. Her voice dropped lower. I didn't cheat on you. I need you to understand that. You were in our bed. With someone else. With Lena. And it wasn't cheating because I still love you. I haven't stopped. That's not how love works, Sienna. Maybe not for you. But I can love both of you. In different ways. My head shook before I could stop it. No. That's not a thing I signed up for. She didn't blink. She looked at me the way she did when we argued about names for Maya. Calm. Certain. Then I'm asking you to consider it. I stared at her. At Lena, who was now sitting on the edge of the bed, holding the sheet like armor. You want me to just, let this continue? Yes. One word. Steady. Like she'd practiced it. I'm not asking for a divorce. I'm not leaving you. I want to keep our life. Our family. And I want this too. I looked at the framed picture on our nightstand. The one from last year's beach trip. Sienna, Maya, me. Lena took it. She wasn't in the frame. Now she was in the bed. I picked up my suitcase. Where are you going? Sienna asked. To remember who I was before this room made me question everything. I didn't slam the door. But I closed it. And for the first time in 16 years, I didn't feel like I belonged in my own house. I checked into a hotel by the interstate. Nothing fancy. Just clean sheets, a working lock, and silence. I didn't turn on the TV. Didn't call anyone. Didn't even change out of my clothes. I lay on top of the covers, staring at the ceiling, watching the fan blades spin. Hours passed. I don't remember sleeping. I just remember the light changing in the window, from sunset to dusk to the blurry amber of parking lot lamps. At some point, I ordered a burger. Didn't eat it. My phone buzzed 3 times. Sienna. I let them ring out. 4th time, voicemail. Hey. I know you need time. I won't push. Maya asked where you were. I told her you were helping Grandpa fix the roof. She laughed. Said you'd fall through it. Call me. Or not. I love you. I played it twice. Not because of what she said. But how she said it. Casual. Gentle. Like she didn't just set our life on fire. Like this was a bump in the road. Not a wreckage. The next morning, I drove to the school and dropped off Maya's lunch. She was surprised to see me. Hugged me harder than usual. You smell like hotel soap, she giggled. Do I? She nodded. And fries. I smiled, but it didn't reach my chest. At the office, I told my principal I needed the rest of the week. Didn't explain. She nodded. Didn't ask. People can feel when something breaks. That night, I sat in my car outside the house for 23 minutes. I timed it. I watched the lights go out upstairs. Saw a shadow cross the window. Couldn't tell if it was Sienna. Or Lena. Didn't want to know. I drove back to the hotel. And I cried. For the first time in a long, long time. Not because they were together. But because they were peaceful. And I wasn't even whole. I went home on Sunday. Not because I forgave her. Not because I knew what to say. Because Maya had a recital. Sienna texted me the details. 2 p.m., multipurpose room. She's nervous. I didn't respond. I just showed up. I stood in the back, pressed against the wood-paneled wall, surrounded by parents clapping too loud and younger siblings rustling snack bags. Maya spotted me before she walked on stage. She didn't wave. Just smiled. That little half-smile that meant, I see you. She played well. Not perfect, but with heart. Her fingers stumbled during the bridge, but she didn't stop. Just pushed through. Resilient. When it was over, she ran to me first. Her violin still dangling from her fingers. Did you hear me mess up? No. Sounded like Bach would have been proud. She giggled and leaned into my side. I held her longer than necessary. When I looked up, Sienna was walking toward us. Alone. No Lena. Her dress was soft blue, simple, the same one she wore to Maya's parent-teacher night last fall. She was amazing, she said. Her voice was soft. Careful. She was. We stood there in silence as Maya darted off to find her friends. Sienna exhaled. I didn't ask her to stay away. Lena. I just thought this should be our moment. I nodded. It was. She looked at me, and for the first time in days, her face cracked a little. I didn't want to break us. You didn't. She blinked. Confused. Then why does it feel like it? I shrugged. Because sometimes you can do everything you think is honest, and still hurt someone worse than if you'd lied. That landed. I could see it. She stepped closer. Not touching me, just close enough for me to smell her shampoo. Jasmine and mint. I miss you sleeping beside me. I miss trusting you. That stopped her. She nodded slowly. Accepted it. Can we try to talk? Dinner? Neutral ground. Somewhere with bad lighting and overpriced salads. I thought about it. Then I nodded. Tomorrow. Tomorrow. She almost smiled. Almost. We didn't hug. We just stood in the middle of that too bright multipurpose room, two people quietly admitting they were lost. And maybe willing to find a way out. Or at least try. We met at an old diner halfway between our house and downtown, the kind of place where time stuck to the windows like grease, and the waitresses still called you, sweetheart, even when you looked like hell. It was raining. The kind of slow, persistent rain that doesn't wash anything clean, just soaks it deeper. Sienna was already there when I arrived. Corner booth. 2 coffees. 1 untouched. 1 already going cold. I slid into the seat across from her without a word. My coat dripped quietly onto the cracked linoleum. We didn't speak at first. The rain tapped the windows like a second hand ticking down to something neither of us had the nerve to say. The waitress brought fresh coffee. We thanked her at the same time, same rhythm, same tone. She smiled. This place, she said. Remember when you brought me here after that disaster of a poetry reading? The one where the guy compared capitalism to sea turtles. I huffed. You had that red scarf. It kept getting caught in your zipper. She laughed softly. I wore that thing until it unraveled. You always hold on to things too long. That a compliment? No. Just, true. A pause. Then she wrapped her hands around the cup like it was the last warm thing she had left. I didn't plan it, she said. Me and Lena. It wasn't something we schemed. It just happened. You keep saying that like it makes it better. That threw her off. Slightly. But she didn't break. I need you to believe me. I do believe you, I said, staring at the steam rising from my cup. And that's exactly what hurts the most. She went quiet. When did it start? I asked. She looked down. 4 months ago. The weekend you were at the retreat. Maya had a fever. Lena stayed late. We didn't do anything, but something shifted. I think we both knew. And we pretended not to. Until pretending felt worse. I looked out the window. The neon sign flickered red against the wet glass, like a warning I didn't see coming. What is it with her? I asked. Is it the thrill? The difference? The freedom? She didn't answer right away. Then, quietly, it feels like air. Like something I didn't know I was missing until it filled me up. I blinked. Swallowed. And what do I feel like? She looked at me. Like gravity. Like home. Like something I never had to question. I stared at her. This woman who still knew how I took my coffee. Who once cried in my arms because the adoption papers for Maya had a typo in her name. But you still want both. She nodded. I do. I laughed. Short and bitter. So what's the plan? We just rebrand the family dynamic. You sleep with me Monday through Thursday, Lena gets weekends and holidays. Do we have a sign-up sheet? Her eyes narrowed. That's not fair. Neither is waking up to find out your marriage is built on shared custody of someone else's heart. She looked down, stung. I'm not asking for permission to cheat, she said quietly. I'm asking you to believe that I love you. That I never stopped. But you did stop choosing me. Her breath caught. She didn't deny it. I exhaled hard and leaned back in the booth. Do you remember when we bought the house? I asked. She nodded. Of course. We couldn't afford it. Not really. But you stood in the empty living room and said, I can feel us here. Like it was already ours. That's why I signed. She closed her eyes. And now, I continued, I'm sitting across from you in a diner, asking myself if you still feel me in any of this. Or if I'm just part of the wallpaper you never bothered to strip down. Silence. A waitress passed, asked if we were ready to order. Neither of us responded. Sienna reached out, slowly, her fingers grazing mine. A touch, not a grab. Do you think there's a version of this where we don't lose everything? I looked at her for a long time. At the woman who still carried my daughter's fears in her hands. At the woman who let someone else in without ever letting me out. I don't know, I said. She nodded, as if she expected it. Would you want there to be? I didn't answer. Not right away. Instead, I asked the one question I hadn't dared to say aloud. Do you think you'd be asking me to stay if I hadn't walked in that day? She opened her mouth. Closed it. Then said, I don't know. It was the first honest thing either of us had said since sitting down. I stood. Pulled out my wallet. Dropped a few bills on the table. I think I need to know who I am without you before I can ever be with you again. She didn't stop me. Didn't beg. Just whispered, I'll wait. I turned toward the door. Outside, the rain hadn't let up. But something in me had. And when I stepped out into it, for the first time since that day, I didn't flinch. I didn't move in so much as I retreated. The rental was a second-floor walk-up above a closed-down nail salon, 1 bedroom, linoleum floors, and that faint smell of someone else's loneliness. I didn't unpack. Just dropped my bag in the corner and let the walls close around me. There was no art. No pictures. No evidence of a life. Just a ticking clock someone had left behind, counting down the hours I didn't know how to fill. At night, the silence felt like pressure. Not peace, wait. I'd lie awake and hear everything, the hum of the fridge, the drip in the bathroom sink, the wind scratching at the single pane of glass. Maya called most evenings. Her voice was always bright, like she didn't notice the fault lines under her feet. Guess what? I'm drawing comic strips now. Are you? Yep. You're the funny dad. Mom's the snack bringer. Lena's the villain. My stomach twisted. The villain? Yeah. But like, the fun kind. With eyeliner. I laughed, but it felt like gravel in my throat. Sienna never got on the line. She didn't avoid it, she just stayed quiet in the background. I could picture her listening. Holding her breath. Not pushing. It was, respectful. Polite. Like two diplomats carefully avoiding war. Then, one afternoon, I saw Lena. I was leaving Maya's school, I dropped off a forgotten lunchbox, stayed to help a teacher carry boxes of decorations. Just trying to feel useful. Lena was standing by her car, alone. Holding a paper bag. No smile. Just waiting. I almost walked past her. Almost made it easy. But she stepped forward. Just one step. Can I talk to you? Her voice was soft. Hollowed out. I said nothing. I know I'm the last person you want to see. And I'm not going to make excuses. Still, I said nothing. Just looked at her. Really looked. She looked different. Tired, yes. But also, unsure. For once, she didn't look like the woman who stole something. She looked like the woman who'd lost something, too. I'm leaving town, she said. Took a contract in Colorado. It's long-term. I think it's best. I nodded once. She held the paper bag out. Maya made you cookies. She doesn't know I'm giving them to you. I took the bag. The weight of it felt heavier than it should have. Lena looked down. I loved her. I didn't mean to hurt you. But I know that doesn't matter. Her voice cracked on the last word. I opened my mouth. Closed it. Then finally said, she's not the villain. Not to Maya. But she was mine. She flinched. Then nodded. And that was it. No scene. No closure. Just two people standing in the carpool lane, drowning in a silence too wide to cross. 3 weeks passed before I saw Sienna again. Maya's school play, a crooked, chaotic version of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. I sat in the aisle seat, second row. She walked in late, breathless, holding Maya's coat. Lena wasn't with her. And yet, I kept scanning the room anyway. Maya's performance was a whirlwind. She forgot lines. Knocked over a cardboard lamppost. But when she took her final bow, her eyes found mine. Not Sienna's. Mine. Afterward, she ran to me with a grin so wide it almost cracked her face. You came. Of course I did. Sienna walked over slowly. Coat over her arm, unsure of where to stand. You were amazing, she said to Maya. She messed up the second scene, I said, smiling. I improvised, Maya chimed in. She always was the bold one, Sienna whispered. Maya darted off to join her friends. Now it was just us. You look tired, she said. You look like someone who's been sleeping fine. She nodded. No defense. We're taking her for ice cream. Have fun. You can come. I shook my head. Not yet. Silence stretched between us. When? She asked. When I can stand beside you and not feel like a placeholder in my own life. She closed her eyes for a moment. Then opened them again. I'll keep hoping. And this time, I believed her. Not because she said it like a promise. But because she said it like a prayer. The first time I laughed again, it caught me off guard, like someone else had stepped into my body for a second. I was in line at the grocery store, buying toothpaste and frozen meals I had no intention of eating. A guy ahead of me dropped a glass bottle of sriracha. It didn't fall, it detonated. Red everywhere. Glass everywhere. The teenage cashier's eyes went wide, like he was watching a murder scene. And for some reason, I laughed. Not out of cruelty. Not because it was funny. Because it was absurd. Because life kept spinning no matter how broken you felt. Because sometimes you need something ridiculous to remember you're still human. The woman behind me started laughing too. The cashier chuckled nervously. Even the guy who dropped it looked around, shrugged, and said, "Guess I like it extra spicy." For a few seconds, we were all part of something small and stupid and beautiful. And for the first time in weeks, I felt the edge of my own weight lift, just a little. That night, I couldn't sleep. Not from sadness. From movement. My thoughts weren't stuck. They were, sorting. I opened my laptop. Stared at a blank email for 20 minutes. Typed. Maya's play was good. She made people smile. That's worth more than a perfect script. Then deleted it. Typed again. You were right about the blue dress. It looked better on her than I remembered. Deleted again. I opened an old email thread instead, one from when we were still dating. She'd sent me a blurry photo of a squirrel stuck headfirst in a bird feeder. Subject, your spirit animal. My reply, at least he commits. It made me smile. And it made me ache. So I went back to the blank email. Typed. I still don't know how to feel. But I know you love her. And I know you didn't stop loving me. That's confusing as hell, but it's also real. Hovered. Added. If you're still hoping, I'm still thinking. I hit send before I could talk myself out of it. I didn't expect a reply right away. But in the morning, it was there. No greeting. No preamble. Just. That's all I needed to hear. No overreach. No guilt. Just a soft place to land. We didn't rush. Weeks passed. No grand gestures. No apologies screamed into the void. Just, slow things. She brought Maya to the park on a Thursday afternoon. I showed up because Maya asked if Daddy would want to see my cartwheel. I couldn't say no. Sienna was already sitting on the bench. She didn't stand when I arrived. Just smiled. Not wide. Not careful. We watched Maya run loops around the swing set, arms out like airplane wings. Sienna didn't bring up the past. Didn't poke at the future. We talked about spelling tests. Sandwiches. The neighbor's yappy dog that kept Sienna up. And that was it. Until the next week, when she texted, Maya wants to show you her art project. Come by. I went. Little things followed. Dinner, sometimes. A shared walk. Laughing, actually laughing, when Maya turned her science fair volcano into a glitter bomb. Then, one night, she stayed after Maya went to bed. We sat on the balcony. 2 chairs. 1 silence. She had her knees pulled to her chest. Wore that oversized hoodie I always used to steal. Do you know I never meant to destroy anything? She asked. I know. But I did anyway. I nodded. Yeah. She looked at me, cautiously. Do you hate me? No. Do you still love me? I was quiet. I'm still figuring that out. She didn't cry. Didn't beg. Just whispered, okay. The breeze picked up. The chimes on the neighbor's porch rattled like a tired song. Then she turned toward me again, smaller this time. Would you ever want to come home? Not to fix anything. Just, to see if it still feels like home. I looked at her, not the woman who broke something, but the one trying, silently, to hand me a piece of it back. I didn't answer right away. But I didn't say no. Because some homes don't fall. They fracture. And if you're careful, if you're willing, you can walk through them without cutting your feet. It didn't happen like in the movies. There was no suitcase by the door. No dramatic reunion with tears and music swelling in the background. No magical moment where everything just clicked back into place. Instead, I started coming by more often. First for Maya. Then for dinner. Then for the kind of nothingness that still smells like something, the sound of familiar footsteps, the drawer that always sticks, the echo of a toothbrush cup when you set it down. I never said I was staying. But I didn't always leave. The rental still held my clothes, my books, the pieces of the man I was trying to understand. But home started to shift, slowly, like a tide rolling back in without asking permission. One Tuesday, I fixed the cabinet hinge in the kitchen. Not because Sienna asked. Just because it creaked. I didn't even notice I was doing it until Maya said, "You always fix things when you're thinking." She wasn't wrong. Another night, I fell asleep on the couch after Maya's movie marathon. Woke up with a blanket tucked around me, the soft smell of jasmine and mint lingering in the folds. Sienna didn't say anything the next morning. Just poured 2 cups of coffee. Left one near the stove. The way she used to. We still didn't talk about us. Not directly. But our hands brushed more often. Our silences felt less like walls and more like hallways. Lena wasn't around anymore. I hadn't asked where she'd gone. Sienna never brought it up. But one day, when I picked up Maya from school, she said, "Lena moved to a place with mountains." She said it's so quiet it feels like snow even when it's not snowing. And that was that. Maybe that was the progress, no demands for closure. No explanations offered or owed. Just space. And choice. One night, Maya came into the room crying. A nightmare, something about the floor turning into water, her bed floating away. She didn't hesitate. Didn't knock. Just climbed into our bed. Our bed. Sienna held her first, smoothing her hair. Then passed her to me. I lay with her tucked into my chest, her tiny hand clutching my shirt like an anchor. Her breath settled slowly, in sync with mine. I watched the ceiling in the dark and thought, this isn't repair. It's rebuilding. Not the same structure. But something honest. Something that might hold. The next morning, I woke early. Made coffee. Not just for me. 2 mugs. One the way I drink it, black, hot, unbothered. One the way she does, oat milk, cinnamon, like dessert in a cup. Sienna walked into the kitchen, her sweatshirt hanging off one shoulder, hair still wild from sleep. She paused when she saw the mugs. Her hand hovered over the handle like she was afraid it wasn't real. "You staying?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. I nodded. Not with a speech. Not with certainty. Just enough to mean yes, for now. She didn't cry. Didn't rush into my arms. She took a sip. Closed her eyes. And said, "Okay." Just that. And for the first time in months, okay didn't sound like settling. It sounded like a door being left open. 1 year later, we returned to the coast. Same beach. Same wind. Same white cottage with the crooked porch swing that creaked like it missed someone. The paint peeled a little more. The porch steps groaned louder. But it still stood. Maya ran ahead, arms wide, crashing into the waves like they were old friends who owed her hugs. Her laughter lifted into the sky before the wind could swallow it. Sienna and I walked behind, not holding hands. Not avoiding each other, either. Just walking. Close enough to feel the other's warmth when the breeze shifted the wrong way. She wore sunglasses, but I could still tell when she was watching me. "You've got more gray," she said, nudging my elbow with hers. "So do you." She smirked. "You never used to notice things like that." I didn't know how to look. Not really. We sat on the sand. Watched Maya dig trenches and assign them names like Castle Defense Moat and Daddy Trap. The tide came and went. The day bent toward golden light. After a while, I asked, "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if I hadn't come back?" She didn't answer right away. Just dug her fingers into the sand, slow and steady, like she was searching for something deeper than shells. "Sometimes," she said. "Usually when it's quiet and I'm not ready for it. And then I look at you. And her. And this." She paused. "Even with all the cracks, it still feels like home." I nodded. No big response. Just that. Because it was true. Later, I watched them build a crooked sandcastle. Maya assigned roles again. Sienna listened carefully, took direction like it mattered. I stayed back, took a photo, not for social media, not for proof. Just to remember the shape of what survival looks like. It didn't sparkle. It didn't beg for applause. It simply existed. Broken and rebuilt. Not the same. Never the same. But real. And on some mornings, like this one, with enough light, and the sea humming gently at your feet. That was enough.